Good morning, dear students, and welcome to yet another session on Gundagras the Tindram. So, in today's session, we'll be dealing with book 2 of Tindram, and I hope you remember book 1 of Tindram, where we were introduced to um the protagonist Oscar Mazaret, his parents, his grandparents, and all the other people in his life, and also I hope the movie has given you an idea about all the important characters, and because of that you still remember the names of the characters and the events. And while going through the entire novel, there is one thing that we should keep in mind, that the entire story is set in the backdrop of the Second World War, and the city where the story happens is the city of Danzig. Now Danzig is a free city. Earlier it was, during Oscar's time, it was the Germans who ruled the country. And again, how this frequent tension was there between the Polish people and the Germans, and how Germans persecuted the Polish people. So, this backdrop of war should be there in everyone's mind while going through the novel, The Tindra. So, as we move to book 2, a few new characters are introduced. Characters like Maria, Deborah, Roswitha, and the Dusters. We are familiar with them. So, book 2 is from chapters 17 to 34. So, when chapter 17 begins, we are once again back to the mental asylum with Oscar, and he tells us that someone by name Maria passed by, and she gave him a new drum. And when she left, she also took his old drum with her. And Oscar makes Maria keep all his old drums, if in case they might need a museum someday. So, Oscar also says that he has started keeping all these old drums since the death of Sigismund Marcus, because he had this fear in his mind that one day, I mean, a day would come when there won't be any more tin drums. Now, after talking about Sigismund Marcus, Oscar is back to where he actually stopped. That is back to chapter 16, where book 1 ends. Book 1 ends with the death of Sigismund Marcus. I hope you again remember that. How he was found dead in his toy shop, inside the office of his toy shop. And he was a Jewish person, and the Nazi Germans, they were killing all the Jewish people. So, Oscar says that after getting the tantrum from Marcus' shop, Oscar knew it pretty well that it would be quite difficult for him to find another drum. So he, uh, dealt with this particular drum very carefully. But since it's Oscar, the drum was beaten, and it soon got completely, uh, you know, broken. And he had to find someone to fix the surface of the skin. And finally he goes to his uncle Jan Bronsky's house, and Bronsky takes him to um, the person who knows how to mend this tendrum. And that person is um, Kobiela. Kobiela is a janitor, who works at the Polish post office. So, hope you remember that particular scene when Bronsky and Oscar, they go to the Polish post office, while the Polish post office was being surrounded by the Nazi police. And Bronsky was actually not attending his office for a few days. He avoided going to work because he knew that the German army would be attacking the Polish post office any moment. So it was because of Oscar and his tantrum that he actually went to the post office with him. So they both, they got into Polish post office, and Brodsky was actually received in a very cold manner by his colleagues, because he was not someone who was interested in fighting. But now he is back to the post office, that his colleagues actually wonder whether he is a spy that the Germans sent. But anyhow, they somehow managed to get into the post office, and that is being described in chapter 17. Now, chapter 18, titled The Polish Post Office, that describes the entire things that happened inside the post office while they were being attacked by the Germans. And during that battle where gunshots are being fired frequently, Oscar finds a new tin rim that was just placed across him. He tries to get that in room where the time bullets were flying, but he somehow managed to get that new tin room. And then in chapter 19, House of Cards, we see that Kobiela, janitor, was severely wounded, and Bronsky somehow helps him down the stairs with the help of another worker by name Victor. And in order to keep Kobiela alive, Kobiela, Oscar, and Bronsky, they engage in a card game, and the card game is Scat. So they engage in this particular card game in order to keep Kobiela alive. But eventually, Kobiela dies, and all the Polish people in the post office, they surrender to German army. And while all these people are being taken away by the German army, Bronsky, there is this scene where Bronsky looks at Oscar and smiles, and then Oscar also tells in this particular chapter that about how the way he screamed when he was out of the Polish post office, because he decided that the Germans did not know that he was actually a fully grown boy, and because of that particular thought in his mind, he screamed, as what he actually says in this particular chapter. And while he was out of the building, he also noticed a German film team recording the victory to show in movie theaters. So here again, we see how media or films were used by the government, the Nazi government, as a tool of propaganda. Then comes chapter 20. Chapter 20 is titled He Lies in SASP. So this is about Jan Bronsky. So Bronsky's wife, her name is Hedwig. Again, I hope you remember her name. Hedwig, she receives a letter from the government that Bronsky is charged, convicted, and executed for irregular military activity. But the burial place of Bronsky is not known to anyone. So Oscar is actually full of guilt for the reason that he considers himself as responsible for the death of uh, Bronsky. So again, at the very beginning of this chapter, Oscar stops the story at one point and says that he lied to the readers because he didn't scream like a 3-year-old boy, as he said in the last chapter. And yeah, so the burial place of Bronsky is not known to anyone, and it was then that um, Hedwig also learns that all the property has been seized, and she had to leave her home immediately. And then later, Crazy Leo stops by um, Oscar and shows him the place where Bronsky is buried, and he also gives him the bullet that came from Saspe. And now Oscar knows the place where his uncle is buried, and he's not just his uncle, because from the very beginning, Oscar knew that his mother was having affair with Bronsky, and Bronsky is his father, and Alfred, his official father, is his presumptive father too. Now, and after knowing the about the truth regarding the burial place of Bronsky, Oscar meets his grandmother, Anna Bronsky. Usually, when he meets Anna, he tries to hide inside her skirt, but this time he gives her that particular bullet and a card that Bronsky was holding during the time of his death. He gives these two things to Anna Bronsky and also whispers in her ear that he lies in Sespe. So, by conveying this to her, he actually wanted to give her some sort of a closure about what happened to her nephew, Jan Bronsky. Now, chapter 21 is about all about Maria. I hope you again remember Maria, how she becomes a member of Oscar's family after his father's death, I mean, mother's death. So, Maria is actually Oscar's close friend, Herbert's youngest sister. So, Alfred was having a very tough time after Agnes' death, and he hires Maria for the grocery store, for running the grocery store. So, from the very beginning, Oscar makes it very clear that he is a great admirer of Maria, and the beauty of Maria is described in detail. And Maria, at the same time, she sees Oscar as a 3-year-old boy. She undresses herself before Oscar and dresses Oscar. And I hope you remember all those scenes in that particular dressing room of the beach. That is all described in this particular chapter, Maria. And chapter 22 is again titled Fizz Powder, that is all about the sexual encounter between Maria and Oscar, how they use this fizz powder while they are on the beach and while they are back to the home. And later, again, that particular, sexual intercourse that was happening between Alfred and Maria, and how Oscar discovers it. And while Oscar tried to comfort Maria, she pushes him away, and later he also kicks her in her mouth. So all these things are described in chapter 22, titled Fizz Powder. Then comes chapter 23, that is titled Special Communicus. Special Communicus begins with Oscar saying that he actually wishes to get some fizz powder in the mental asylum. So he asks his keeper Bruno to find some, and Bruno actually gets him some fizz powder. So when once Maria comes, he actually shows her that fizz powder, and she gets so embarrassed, and she diverts the entire talk to his younger brother, who's actually, he considers himself as the son of this younger brother too, that is um, Kurt Matzerath. So Oscar is quite sure that he is the biological father of Kurt Matzerath, and he also remembers the pregnancy period of Maria, and how he actually wanted to put an end to that pregnancy. He didn't actually like Maria getting pregnant. He hated that belly getting um, big day by day. So one day he tried to, you know, try to attack her using a scissor. I hope you remember that particular scene. And another day also tried to topple her down with a ladder, but she just got a sprain on her ankle, and she wasn't hurt. So and she gives birth to this small baby boy who was named as Kurt Matzerath. And again, it is said that during the baptism of um, Kurt, this Oscar, he didn't go to church. Yeah. So that's all about special communicus. Then regarding chapter 4, carrying my helplessness to Frogref. Hope you again remember Mr. and Mrs. Greff. Mr. Greff is Alfred's close friend, and how Mrs. Mrs. Frogreff, she was the one who actually taught Oscar how to read and write. All those stories about Rasputin that she read to Oscar, I hope you remember that. Now he opens this particular chapter talking about Greff. Greff was actually have he had a shop of vegetables and fruits. And he was again not interested in his wife. He was having affairs with boys, because he was the head of the scouts, and he had many boy scouts with whom he spent his time. And he actually had a special scale for weighing fruits and vegetables for his shops, and he designed these scales in such a way that they played music. And these scales were not at all practical, because the weighing was not accurate, and because of that he had trouble with the government officials. And he again remembers Greffo's witness at his father's wedding with his first love, Maria. Now, yeah, and then again, it is in this particular chapter he talks about the birth of his brother or his son, Kurt Matsurath. And also he tells that when while after the during the baptism of Kurt Matsurath, Alfred served vanilla pudding, and how this vanilla pudding made him so sick because he was reminded of Maria. Maria smelled like vanilla. I hope you remember that particular thing that he says in the movie too. She smelled of vanilla. So it reminded him of this early romance he had with Maria. So Oscar ends this chapter by saying how he clinged onto uh, uh, the skirts of Frogref, and how again I hope you remember that particular scene also, how he got into that skirt of Frogref, and he did that to get rid of that smell of vanilla. And then comes chapter 25, that is titled 75 kilos. Here again, the entire chapter is quite sexual because he describes his sexual encounter with Frogref. Frogref is seen by Oscar as a replacement of Maria. And this particular chapter, he again talks about Mr. Greff. Mr. Greff, how a person who was too bothered about his looks became completely out of mind, because most of the boys with whom he had relations, uh, they all joined the army because of the war. And Mr. Gregg was again, according to Oscar, he had no issues in Oscar having sexual affair with his wife, because one day um, he bought a what he brought a wash basin home, and he placed his wash basin in such a manner that it is quite easy for Oscar to wash off his hands after having sex with wash his hands after having sex with Frogref. And Mr. Gregg also showed Oscar a new machine that he recently discovered, a kind of a mechanized drum, a mechanized form of a tin drum. And he was having this affair with Frogref even while Greg was at home. And at the end of the chapter, we see that Mr. Greg commits suicide in the basement. And another important characters who are introduced in this particular chapter are Bebra and Roswitha. Bebra, the person who was running the circus, and his entertainment partner, Roswitha. And he comes to know about the fact that Bebra is now, he holds an important position in the Nazi army now. He is an important officer in the army. And in chapter 26, that is Bebra's Theatre and the Friend, Oscar tells that for the first birthday of his son Kurt, he wasn't there, and for the second birthday also, because he was into some business, and the business was he has joined Bebra and Roswitha, and he was doing performance. The performance is playing the tindrum and also the screaming. Um so 2 years, or not 2 years, he almost spent 3 years with these people. And then comes this chapter actually ends by Oscar's doubt regarding the age of Roswitha, whether Roswitha is 19 or 90 years old, and it also talks about the sexual affair that he had with Roswitha. And then in chapter 27, that is Inspecting Concreto Mystical Barbaric Board, this again describes the tour that he had with Bebra and Roswitha to different places for their performances. And while he was away with these people, he never sent a postcard to his family. He was still angry with his father, with Maria and Kurt. So then that particular scene where they are having a kind of vacation on near a beach, I hope you remember that the two nuns got killed, and it was a German soldier, Corporal Langs, who actually shot the nuns who were taking prawns near the beach, and the order was given by a German officer by name Herzog. And these people, they are actually their troop was called to Atlantic Call in France in order to help improve the spirit of the troops. So they are now in France. It was then this Normandy invasion happens, and while they were about to leave the place, Roswitha wanted to have a cup of coffee before leaving, and the invasion happens, and she was killed. And this particular chapter has got a title like Mystical Barbaric Board, because after killing the two nuns who were taking prawns from the shores, this soldier, Corporal Langs, he talks about how the phrase magic mystical barbaric board should be the slogan for the 20th century, because and Langs is a person who reminds them that when you make a building out of concrete, it is good luck to shove a live puppy into the cement before it hardens. So that is why this particular chapter is titled Mystical Barbaric Board. Then comes chapter 28, that is titled The Imitation of Christ. In this chapter, we see that Oscar parts with Bebra. He's so heartbroken because of the death of Roswitha, and he's back home because he had no other place to go. And almost everyone is quite shocked to see Oscar back. And by the time Maria has become too religious because one of her brothers died in army, so she visits the Catholic church. She also takes Oscar to this Catholic church where his mother Agnes used to go. So he is again back to that very same Catholic church where he stood years back, and the same statue of Jesus Christ sitting in the lap of Mother Mary. And I hope you remember that particular chapter title, No Miracle. So in this particular chapter again, he is there in front of the statue, and then what comes next in this particular chapter is a kind of magic realism, because he places this drum on the lap of uh, baby Jesus, and he sees Jesus drumming it, and the entire scene is too filled with magic realism. And finally they leave the church, and when he sees Jesus, he says that he sees himself in Jesus. So while when they leave the church, Jesus actually asks him, do you love me? And then he says no. So this is how it ends, this particular chapter. Yeah. So then comes chapter 29, that is titled The Dusters. The Dusters were actually a group of young people who were not at all happy with the adults of the city. So Oscar one day sees this group, and he continues to walk, but the group, they get so closer, and though he tries to escape, he was caught by these people. And then the leader of the group, his name is Becker, he asks his name, and Oscar says that his name is Jesus. and later they ask him about his ability to shatter glasses, and they make Oscar their leader. So he is now a part of this group called the Dusters. So these Dusters, they don't care about the Nazis or the communists, but they constantly assault people from these groups, and they break into military buildings to steal weapons and ammunition. So they were a kind of a notorious kind of a group. So in chapter 30, we that is titled the Christmas play, we see that Oscar, the leader of the Dusters now, they you know Oscar actually decides to change the plans of the Dusters. Instead of preparing a bloody battle, he tells the gang that they are going to prepare something called the Christmas play. And they together they go to the Catholic church where this statue of Jesus is there, uh, and he orders the members to remove baby Jesus from Virgin Mary's lap. So these people, they removed baby Jesus, and they dress up Oscar as a baby and put him in Jesus' place on Mary's lap. And after this incident, all the Dusters were arrested, and they were all executed also. And Oscar is the only person who was actually not executed because of this particular incident. And the execution is there described in chapter 31, that is titled the Ant Trial. And the Ant Trial talks about two important things. One is the execution of the Dusters, and second is regarding the invasion of the Russians. Danzig, the city, was invaded by Russians, and how they came to the basement of Oscar's house, where Oscar, Maria, his father Alfred, Kurt, and Mrs. Griff were actually hiding. And again, I remember that. Hope you remember that particular incident where Alfred was trying to, hide that pin bearing a swastik symbol, and how when he tried to swallow it, it got caught in his throat, and how the Russian soldier shot him dead. So that is there described in chapter 31, and it was again doubtfully said that Oscar might have opened the pin of this that pin on purpose before passing it on to his father Alfred. So we see that he is actually responsible for the death of his biological father as well as his official father. But he never shows any kind of remorse at this. He has a very indifferent expression at the death of all these people. Now, chapter 32 is titled Should I or Shouldn't I? That deals with funeral of Alfred. And in that funeral, there is one more person present, and that is a Jewish person who actually lost his entire family. And he is the presented as the only one who survived the Nazi concentration camp. And other than Maria, there's a Jewish man, Oscar, and Kurt. There is one more person present there, that is Crazy Leo. So during the funeral of Alfred, Oscar also throws his drum into that grave to be buried along with his father, because his decision to stop growing was actually kind of protection against having life with Alfred, or the way Alfred wanted Oscar to live. Now Alfred is gone, same as the case with his uncle Jan Bronsky. So he feels that he doesn't need something like a Tindrum anymore. And yeah, and this particular chapter ends with Crazy Leo running around and yelling out that he is growing. So that's how chapter 32 ends. In chapter 33, that is titled Disinfectant, we are actually back to Oscar's room in the mental asylum, where Oscar asks Bruno to measure his body. And it was found that Oscar has grown over 4 feet tall. Right now, he is 4 feet tall. That means that he has grown over a foot since the funeral of Oscar. And Oscar is also quite convinced that he is growing after his father's death. But this new change that happened to Oscar was not taken in a positive way or not welcomed by his body. He got sick, and Maria, she went to many doctors, but she was unable to find the what is actually wrong with Oscar. So she decides to leave the city of Danzig and go to Dusseldorf, Germany. That is where her sister is residing. So the three, Oscar, Maria, and Kurt, they leave Danzig, and the only person who is left behind is Oscar's grandmother, Anna Bronsky, and she is so devastated at their leaving. And now, chapter 34, that is titled Growth in a Boxcar. Uh, Here again, we are back to the Mendel Institute, Mendel Asylum, and Oscar says that he still feels that pain of the growth that happened to him back in 1945, and he again asks, Bruno to check and see whether he has grown. And there is another interesting thing in this particular chapter, that he gives Bruno the pen and asks him to start writing his story. So Bruno is not a stupid person. Oscar thinks Bruno is, pretty smart, that he writes the story for Oscar in a very interesting manner. And how they reached Dusseldorf, and Oscar was suddenly taken to the city hospital, where he stayed for some time, and his body, it continued to grow, and but his actually body grew in a different way. That is, his bones started growing on sideways and as much as upwards, and he was left with a large hump on his back. That's how Bruno writes the story of Oscar. And again, at some point, we see that Oscar has become a known drummer, and he earned a lot of royalties from his records during his stay at Dusseldorf. So at the end of the chapter, again, Oscar takes a pen from Bruno and asks him to measure again, and it turns out that he has grown another inch during the last 3 days, and that is how book 2 of Tindrum ends. I hope again things are quite clear. If having any doubts, please feel free to ask, and hopefully in the next class we'll try to wind up the Tindrum and move to the other portions that are there. Okay, so with this note, let me say thank you for listening. Thank you, dears.